I should have called in sick. That's what I keep telling myself, over and over, like some kind of mantra. If I had, I wouldn't be sitting here in the dim glow of the security monitors, hands trembling, heart still hammering in my chest. I wouldn't be replaying the events of last night, trying and failing to convince myself that it was just exhaustion, just my imagination. But deep down, I know the truth. Something was in that hospital with me, something that shouldn't have been there. I worked the graveyard shift as a nurse in a small, underfunded hospital, the kind of place where the walls are yellowed with age and the fluorescent lights hum like they're whispering secrets. Budget cuts have left parts of the building abandoned, including the notorious East Wing. The official reason? Structural instability. The unofficial reason? People hear things, see things. The East Wing hasn't been in use for over a decade, but the stories never stopped. Nurses talk about shadows that move when no one's there, about whispers that slither through the empty halls. Some claim they've seen figures in the windows when the floor is supposed to be empty. I never paid much attention to the rumors until last night. It had been an unusually slow shift. The ER was empty, the halls eerily silent. I was sipping my third cup of stale coffee at the nurse's station when the overhead speaker crackled to life. Code Blue, East Wing, room 208. I froze. A code blue means cardiac arrest. Immediate response required. But that didn't make sense. There were no patients in the East Wing. There hadn't been for years. I turned to Will, the overnight security guard. He looked as startled as I felt. "There has to be a mistake," I said, setting down my coffee, my pulse already quickening. Will hesitated before nodding. "Yeah, must be a glitch, but we should check it out, just in case." Protocol. Even when everything in your gut tells you to stay put. I grabbed my emergency kit and radio, my fingers slick with sweat. Together, we made our way toward the East Wing, our footsteps too loud in the suffocating silence. The moment we stepped past the threshold, the air changed. The temperature plummeted. It wasn't just a chill. It was an unbearable, bone-deep cold that made my breath cloud in front of me. The overhead lights flickered, buzzing angrily. The sterile scent of antiseptic lingered, but beneath it, something else. Something rotting. Then we heard it. A voice, fragile, strained. "Help me." Will stiffened beside me. "Did you hear that?" I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. The sound had come from room 208. The door was ajar, swaying slightly, as if someone had just passed through. I shone my flashlight inside, the beam cutting through the thick dust. The hospital bed was still neatly made, untouched since the wing had been shut down. The heart monitor was lifeless, its screen black, but the chair beside the bed, it was rocking. I took a step back, heart slamming against my ribs. The chair kept moving, slow and deliberate, its creaking the only sound in the suffocating stillness. Then I saw the footprints. They weren't in the dust. They were forming in it, barefoot, fresh, leading from the bed to the door, toward us. I turned to Will, expecting him to be staring at the prints, but he wasn't. His eyes were fixed past me, his face pale, his expression twisted in horror. I swallowed hard and forced myself to turn. The bed wasn't empty anymore. A woman lay there, motionless, her skin ashen, lips tinged blue, her eyes open, unblinking. My stomach lurched. I knew that face. Her picture hung in the old staff lounge, framed in dust and neglect. Dr. Evelyn Harper. She'd worked here 20 years ago, and she had died in this very room. Will yanked me backward, his grip bruising my arm. "We need to go, now." I didn't argue. We turned and ran. The hallway stretched impossibly long before us, like we were moving through molasses. The overhead lights burst one by one, plunging us into darkness. A high-pitched wail ripped through the corridor, bouncing off the walls, swallowing our panicked breaths. And then something grabbed me. I choked on my scream as ice-cold fingers clamped around my wrist, squeezing tight. My pulse slammed against my ribs, my body frozen in place. Will fumbled with his flashlight, his breath ragged. The beam flickered on. A hand. A pale, withered hand emerging from the darkness, its nails jagged, digging into my skin. But there was no arm, no body attached to it, just the hand. I wrenched away, the force nearly throwing me off my feet. We bolted down the hall, the darkness pressing in, the wailing growing louder, closer, clawing at our ears. And then, silence. We stumbled onto the main hospital floor, panting, shaking. The warmth returned in an instant, wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, steady and unbroken. The hospital was normal, as if nothing had happened. But it had. We checked the security footage, desperate for something, anything, to make sense of what we had just experienced. There was nothing. No code blue alert, no voices on the audio. And room 208's feed. Static. Just static. I called in sick today, and tomorrow I'll be handing in my resignation. Let someone else take the night shift. Let someone else listen to the whispers, see the footprints appear in the dust, feel the ice-cold grip of something that should not exist. I know what I saw, what I felt, and I will never, never set foot in that East Wing again.